So this video is about atoms and their structure, and basically I'll throw in some information about molecules at the end. So what is matter? Matter is anything that takes up space and has mass. So if something takes up any amount of space at all, it doesn't matter how small the space is, or it has mass, then it's called matter. Again, it doesn't matter how small. So the oxygen that you breathe takes up a very small amount of space, each one of the atoms does. And so it is considered to be matter. Gases are matter, solids are matter, liquids are matter. All of it is matter as long as it takes up space and has mass. All matter is made out of atoms, and atoms are the basic building blocks of matter. It's sort of like the bricks you use when you're building a house. You put different atoms together to make different things, just like you put different bricks together to make your house. What are the parts of an atom? Well, our atom has three main parts. The proton is a positively charged particle that is inside the nucleus or the center of an atom. And that's what makes the atom what it is. So whatever the atom is called, oxygen, carbon, iron, gold, that's based on the number of protons that it has. Then you have a neutron. The neutrons have no charge, and they're also in the center or the nucleus of an atom. And then going around the atom are these shells or orbitals or energy levels. They're called all three. And going around the center of the atom or the nucleus of the atom are the electrons. Then they have a negative charge. So protons have a positive charge, neutrons have no charge. They're both located inside the nucleus. Electrons have a negative charge and they circle the atom on the orbitals or the shells. Now electrons have some special rules. They have to be on the shells. They circle around the nucleus of the atom. The outermost shell has electrons called valence electrons. So if an electron is on the outermost shell of an atom, we call it a valence electron. So here's the rules for electrons. The nucleus is in the center. The first shell going around an atom can hold up to 2 electrons. The second shell going around can hold up to 8 electrons. And the third shell can hold up to 18 electrons. So each shell has a certain number of electrons that it can hold. Oftentimes they will write an atom, what an atom looks like in shorthand, and it will be number dot number dot number. What this means is each number represents a shell. So this particular atom here, right here, would have 3 shells. And then the numbers tell you how many electrons are on each shell. So for instance, 2.8.8.4, we'll do one of these on the board in class. But basically this means that the first shell around the atom would have 2 electrons. Second shell would have 8. Third shell would have 8. And fourth shell would have 4. Now it's also important to note, and you need to write this down, however many protons an atom has, it has the same number of electrons, and usually it will have the same number of neutrons. Okay? So this particular atom has 2 plus 8 plus 8 plus 4 electrons, so 10, 18, 22 electrons. That means it would have 22 protons, and most likely somewhere close to 22 neutrons. So here's an example. Again, an atom always has the same number of electrons and protons, and usually it has the same number of protons and neutrons as well. And these are some examples. Hydrogen is an atom. It's a gas. It's the gas that's located in most suns, and it has 1 proton and 1 electron and no neutrons. Helium is the gas that you put into balloons to make them float. It has 2 protons, 2 electrons, and 2 neutrons. And carbon is an atom that most living things are made out of. It has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. Some exceptions to the rule that all the protons and the neutrons and the electrons are equal. An ion is an atom whose protons and electrons are not equal. If it is a positively charged atom, it means it has more protons. So basically an ion is when your protons and your electrons are not equal. If it is a negatively charged ion, it means it has more electrons than protons. So again, positively charged atom, or ion, has more protons than electrons. Negatively charged ion has more electrons than protons. So those are ions. And then you have isotopes. Isotopes are different forms of an atom. So let's say I have a carbon atom. It normally has 6 protons and 6 neutrons. Okay? I could, though, have a carbon atom that has 7 neutrons, or a carbon atom that has 8 neutrons. If I did, all those carbon atoms would be called carbon isotopes. So an isotope is when your neutrons and your protons are basically not equal. Again, I'll show you an example on the board during the week. So atom models. There are different types of atom models, but we're going to focus on the Bohr model. The Bohr model basically has you draw the atom to where the protons are in the center in circles, and they have a plus inside because they're positively charged. Your neutrons are drawn as circles in the center of an atom, and they have a neutral charge, so they're basically left blank. And your electrons are drawn on the shells as circles, and they have a negative sign in them. So this is how you would draw an atom. This one is helium because it has 2 protons and 2 electrons. This is how you would draw an atom using the Bohr model. We're going to practice that in class as well.